Have you ever wondered how one empire managed to leave such an enormous mark on history that we still feel its influence today? Well, let's talk about the Roman Empire, arguably one of the most powerful and influential civilizations the world has ever seen. At its peak, the Roman Empire wasn't just a dominating force. It was the largest and most sophisticated political and military powerhouse of its time. The story of Rome as an empire begins with Augustus Caesar, the first emperor, who rose to power after defeating his rivals and bringing much-needed stability to a Rome that had been racked by internal chaos. Augustus, Julius Caesar's adopted heir, ruled from 27 BCE to 14 CE, transforming Rome from a city of clay to one of marble. He wasn't just about grandeur, though. Augustus was the man behind the Pax Romana, a remarkable period of peace and prosperity that lasted for over 200 years. But as with any tale of greatness, there were darker chapters. After Augustus came Tiberius, his heir, who tried to carry on his policies but lacked the charisma and vision of his predecessor. Then came the infamous Caligula, a ruler who started off promisingly but became notorious for his bizarre behavior. Claudius followed, a surprisingly effective emperor who expanded Rome's reach into Britain, but met his end through assassination. And Nero, well, he's remembered more for his tyranny and dramatic downfall, ending the Julio-Claudian dynasty with his suicide. The chaos didn't stop there. After Nero's death, Rome plunged into the Year of the Four Emperors, a period of civil unrest and rapid power changes. Galba, Otho, Vitellius, and finally Vespasian each took their turn on the throne in quick succession. It was Vespasian who managed to stabilize the empire and founded the Flavian dynasty. He's also the guy behind one of Rome's most iconic landmarks, the Colosseum, which his son Titus would later finish. Titus himself had a challenging but commendable reign. From handling the catastrophic eruption of Mount Vesuvius to managing a devastating fire in Rome, his leadership earned him respect and admiration. After his untimely death, his brother Domitian took over, continuing Rome's building projects and expanding its territories. However, his strict and autocratic ways eventually turned many against him, leading to his assassination. And the Roman Empire's story takes a turn toward what many historians call the Golden Age of the Five Good Emperors. These rulers, Nerva, Trajan, Hadrian, Antoninus Pius, and Marcus Aurelius, brought stability, strength, and prosperity to Rome between 96 and 180 CE. Their leadership marked a period where the empire not only thrived, but reached its absolute peak in terms of power and influence. Nerva was the first to take charge after Domitian's assassination. Though his reign was brief, it set the stage for what followed. He adopted Trajan, a skilled general, as his heir, ensuring a smooth transition of power. Trajan, in turn, expanded Rome's territory to its greatest extent, pushing the borders as far as modern-day Romania and the Persian Gulf. His successor Hadrian took a different approach, consolidating and securing the empire rather than expanding it. Hadrian is best remembered for building Hadrian's Wall in Britain, a symbol of Rome's might and its limits. Then came Antoninus Pius, whose reign was marked by peace and stability, earning him a reputation as one of Rome's most benevolent rulers. Following him was Marcus Aurelius, a philosopher king who embodied wisdom and resilience. However, Marcus Aurelius' reign wasn't without challenges. He faced invasions on Rome's borders and internal turmoil, all while navigating his role with remarkable grace. Unfortunately, his death marked the beginning of the empire's slow decline. His son, Commodus, succeeded him, a sharp contrast to his father. Commodus was known for his reckless indulgence and self-serving leadership, which eventually led to his assassination in 192 CE. What followed was another period of upheaval, the Year of the Five Emperors, which ended with Septimius Severus rising to power and founding the Severan dynasty. Severus was a military man through and through, and under his rule, Rome saw both expansion and financial strain. His campaigns in Africa and Britain, while impressive, drained the empire's resources, planting the seeds for future economic troubles. Severus was succeeded by his sons, Caracalla and Geta, but their relationship quickly turned sour. Caracalla, infamous for murdering his brother to claim sole power, ruled with an iron fist until he was assassinated by one of his own bodyguards. During his reign, he granted Roman citizenship to all free men in the empire, not out of generosity, but as a means to increase tax revenue. The Severan dynasty limped along under the influence of powerful women like Julia Maesa, until the assassination of Alexander Severus in 235, plunged Rome into what's now known as the crisis of the 3rd century. This chaotic period saw the empire fragment into 3 regions, with countless military leaders vying for control. Eventually, Emperor Aurelian managed to reunite the empire, laying the groundwork for reforms that Diocletian would later enhance. Diocletian introduced the Tetrarchy, dividing the empire into East and West to improve governance. He retired voluntarily in 305, but his reforms couldn't prevent the internal conflicts that erupted after his departure. One of the key figures to emerge from this chaos was Constantine the Great. In 312, Constantine defeated his rival Maxentius at the Battle of the Milvian Bridge and became the sole ruler of a reunified Roman Empire. He's remembered not just for his military victories, but for embracing Christianity and changing the empire's religious landscape forever. Constantine legalized Christianity with the Edict of Milan, and later convened the First Council of Nicaea to define the faith's core principles. He also founded Constantinople, a city that would become the heart of the Eastern Roman Empire. However, after his death, his empire was divided among his sons, whose infighting threatened to unravel everything Constantine had achieved. Among his successors, Julian the Apostate stood out for his attempt to return Rome to its pagan roots. Though he ruled for only 2 years, Julian's efforts to revive traditional Roman religion and culture left a lasting impression. But his death marked the end of that vision, and Emperor Jovian quickly restored Christianity as the dominant faith. Finally, Theodosius I emerged as a significant figure. He outlawed pagan practices, closed ancient schools like Plato's Academy, and made Christianity the state religion of Rome. While his reforms strengthened the Church's position, they also weakened the cultural and social fabric that had long supported the empire. By the end of Theodosius' reign, the Roman Empire was no longer the unified force it once was. He was the last emperor to rule both East and West, and the fall of the Roman Empire is one of the most debated and fascinating chapters in history. It's almost like watching a giant slowly crumble under its own weight while being chipped away by external forces. The tipping point often identified in this long decline is the Gothic Wars from 376 to 382. These wars, particularly the catastrophic Roman defeat at the Battle of Adrianople in 378, set the stage for the unraveling of the Western Roman Empire. Emperor Valens, who led the Roman forces, miscalculated both the strength and strategy of the Goths, leading to his defeat and death. This battle wasn't just a military loss. It symbolized a critical blow to Rome's authority and its ability to manage external threats. The reasons behind the fall of the empire have fueled endless discussions. Edward Gibbon famously argued in his monumental work, The History of the Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, that Christianity played a major role. He believed the shift in focus from traditional Roman values to this new faith undermined the empire's strength and unity. On the other hand, early Christian theologians like Orosius fiercely defended the faith, claiming paganism and its associated practices were the true causes of Rome's decline. The truth, as is often the case, is likely somewhere in the middle, with multiple factors contributing to the empire's collapse. Political instability was one of the most glaring issues. The sheer size of the Roman Empire made it incredibly challenging to govern effectively. Even after it was split into eastern and western halves, the two sides often acted more like rivals than allies. This division meant that problems in one region were rarely a priority for the other. The growing strength of Germanic tribes on Rome's borders only added to the chaos. Frequent invasions exposed weaknesses in leadership and strained resources. Corruption among government officials further eroded trust and efficiency, while mercenary armies, many of whom were of non-Roman origin, lacked loyalty to the empire. They fought for pay, not patriotism, which weakened the military's effectiveness. Economic struggles compounded these problems. Inflation, sparked by the debasement of currency during earlier reigns, reduced the value of money and destabilized the economy. An over-reliance on slave labor also created a stagnant job market for Rome's lower classes, leading to widespread unemployment. When the Visigoths, fleeing from the Huns, sought refuge within Roman borders, they were mistreated and eventually rebelled, adding to the empire's troubles. By the time Romulus Augustulus, the last emperor of the Western Roman Empire, was deposed in 476 by Odoacer, it was clear the western half of the empire had become a shadow of its former self. Some argue the true end came a few years later with the death of Julius Nepos in 480, but by then the Western Empire was little more than a fading memory. Meanwhile, the Eastern Roman Empire, later known as the Byzantine Empire, endured and even thrived for centuries, finally falling in 1453. Though it carried the Roman name for much of its existence, it had evolved into something distinct from the empire of antiquity. The idea of Rome would live on in different forms, like the Holy Roman Empire, but these were symbolic rather than true successors to the original Roman state. Despite its fall, the Roman Empire's legacy is impossible to overlook. The innovations and ideas that came out of Rome shaped the world in ways that still resonate today. Their advancements in architecture, like the construction of aqueducts, paved roads, and massive public buildings, set standards for engineering and urban planning. The concept of fast-drying cement revolutionized construction techniques, and their innovations in plumbing improved sanitation in ways that were centuries ahead of their time. Even something as simple as the calendar we use today traces its roots to Rome, thanks to Julius Caesar's reforms. Everyday conveniences we take for granted, like apartment living, postal systems, and even returning unwanted goods, were part of Roman life. Their influence extended to culture, with literature, satire, and law all bearing their mark. They borrowed ideas from the people they conquered, refining and improving them to suit their needs, making it hard to draw a line between what was uniquely Roman and what was adapted. What's undeniable is that Rome's ability to innovate and adapt left an indelible imprint on the world. Even in its decline, the echoes of the empire's greatness continue to shape how we live, work, and think today.